Hello everybody, we are starting a new section today. So previously we looked at area and how to find the area of plane figures and circles and sectors. Now today we're moving into our next big section of this chapter, which is looking at surface area. And our surface area equations use those equations that we use for just plain area. So if I were you, while going through this notes section, I would have the cheat sheet or your notes handy with those equations because you will be integrating those into these problems. I would also have, a calculator handy because we're going to be typing in those equations. All right. We are going to be looking into the surface area of prisms and cylinders today, and then tomorrow we will look at another section of surface area. Before we even dive into solving for surface area, first we need to be able to classify these 3D figures. You have to know what figure you're dealing with in order to figure out what equation I need to use to solve for surface area. So our first big category of 3D figures is a prism. And a prism is going to be a solid with two bases that are congruent and parallel. So if you have a figure that has two bases that are congruent and parallel, it's a prism. However, we classify that a step further depending on how many sides the shape has. For example, or how many sides the base shape has. So for example, on my far left, I have triangular prism because my triangle is my base. In the middle, I have a rectangular prism. That is, you deem it as rectangular because it has a rectangle as its base, and so on. I have a trapezoidal prism because my base shape, my two bases are trapezoids. We take this classification a step further with what we know as a cylinder. A cylinder has two bases that are congruent and parallel. Therefore, a cylinder is a prism. We do not call it a circular prism, we call it a cylinder. And it's crucial you guys know these names and understand how to classify 3D figures because you have to know what formulas to use. So today, we're going to be diving into how do you find the surface area of prisms and cylinders. Okay. Prisms, the equations for surface areas of prism are broken up into two categories. Your first category is going to be your rectangular prism or your cubes. And then your other half of your prisms is going to be all other prisms. So rectangular prisms have their own equation separate from every other prism. Your equation to solve for the surface area of a rectangular prism is going to be SA, so surface area, is equal to 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. All right, and some of y'all may think, how do I know which one's my length, which one's my width, which one's my height? Like, I know what length and width means, and I understand height, but it may be oriented a different way than you imagine. My recommendation to you is just go through your figure, your shape on your paper, and label them as L, W, and H. As long as you keep those measurements consistent, your calculations will work out because of it being a rectangular prism. So let's do an example. Find the surface area of a rectangular prism. Here, I'm going to follow the same trend as this shape up here. So my height is going to be 9 feet. My width is going to be 13 feet. And my length is going to be 7. Time to plug and chug because surface area is 2 times 7. My length times my width, which is 13, plus 2 times 7 times 9, plus 2 times 13 times 9. As you see, each quantity is multiplied by the other quantities within the shape, so it all works out in the end. So 2 times 7 times 13 gives me, I got 182. 2 times 7 times 9 plus 126 plus 2 times 13 times 9, which gives me 234. When I add those all up, my final answer for my surface area is going to be 542 feet squared. These units are still squared because we are solving for area. And these quantities are going to be big. Because think about it. What is happening in each one of these little calculations here? You're finding the area of each side. And you're multiplying it by 2 because those sides are duplicated. You multiply by 2 to count for both faces on the outside, as well as you're doing the calculations 3 times for each base within the rectangular prism. Let's do another example. Find the surface area of each rectangular prism. All right, 10 is going to be my width. 16 is going to be my length, and 5 is going to be my height. Surface area is equal to 2 times 16 times 10 plus 2 times 16 times 5 plus 2 times 10 times 5. All right, time for some plugging and chugging. 2 times 16 times 10 gives me 320. 2 times 16 times 5 gives me 160. 2 times 10 times 5 gives me 100. Time to add those all up. My final answer for my surface area of this rectangular prism is 580 centimeters squared. So we have looked at how to find the surface area of rectangular prisms. What about all other prisms? You're going to follow a similar pattern as you go through and analyze these and solve for these. The trend is you'll be finding the area of each side and adding them all up. And we do that through condensed calculations. Yes, I could go through within my figures and say, okay, I have a triangle on top. I'm going to find the area of that. I have a rectangle on the side. I can find the area of that. I have a pentagon over here on this side. I can find the area of that and then add them all together. And we're doing those calculations. We're just using them in condensed formulas. So, the trend you follow when finding the area of all other prisms is you find the lateral area, known as the area of your non-bases. So it's like that in-between, between your two congruent bases that are parallel. And then you add the area of the bases. And we use that through this condensed formula right here. So my surface area formula is going to be HP plus 2B. Where does that HP come from? Harry Potter. Nope, not this time. Okay, that's from your lateral area. Lateral area formula. It's that area between your two bases. Really, this is the equation you need to know. That surface area is HP plus 2B. What do each of those variables stand for? H is going to be the height between your bases. P is going to be the perimeter of the base. And B is going to be the area of the base. Let's do our example. Find the surface area of each prism below. Whenever you approach these problems, I strongly suggest making a key off to the side so you know what each quantity is, so you can just plug and chug and go. So my height between my bases, where are my bases? Well, it's going to be our triangle here and kind of like our hidden triangle in the back. All right, So my height between those is going to be 16. My perimeter of my base, it's going to be the perimeter of my triangle. So 9 plus 12 plus, what's this quantity? Well, if I look, these shapes are congruent. So this segment is congruent to this segment. So 15. So 9, my perimeter is going to be 9 plus 12 plus 15, which gives me 36 meters. Finally, I need to find my area of the base. So this B quantity is going to be different depending on what type of prism you have. If I have a triangular prism, I'm going to use my area formula for my triangle. If I have a trapezoidal prism, I'm going to use my area formula for a trapezoid. So that's where these equations can differ between different problems. You have the same basic format. However, it splits off depending on what type of shape you have whenever you're solving for that area of the base. So to find for my B, what type of prism do I have? I have a triangular prism. So I'm going to use my triangle area formula, 1/2 base times height of that base in order to figure out what my B quantity is. So it's going to be 1/2 of my base, which is 9, and my height, which is 12. Okay. So my B value, my big B, is going to be 9 times 12 divided by 2 gives me 54. Okay. Now I have all my variables. I can plug and chug. So my surface area of my triangular prism is going to be 16, it's my H, times P, which is 36, plus 2 times 54. So as you can already see, this is going to be a large quantity. 16 times 36, that is 576, plus 2 times 54, which is 108. Why do we multiply by 2 there? Well, because I have 2 bases, because I have a prism. All right, so I'm taking my lateral area plus the area of both of my bases, giving me a final answer. My surface area of this whole triangular prism is going to be 684 meters squared. Let's do one more practice looking at all other prisms that aren't rectangular prisms. I have my equations off to the left-hand side. My surface area is going to be H times P plus 2 times the area of my base, so B, capital B. I'm wanting to find the surface area of the prism. What type of prism do I have? Where are my congruent bases? Well, it's going to be, oh my goodness, okay. Sometimes I don't draw the dashed lines in the back because I feel like it confuses. Looking at these quantities, also, Lord knows I'm not an artist. So, we have a trapezoidal prism. So just imagine those dashed lines are in the back. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, so here's my base. I'm gonna find my area of my base. I'm gonna find the area of my lateral area. So it's gonna be here and here. Okay, that lateral area is the area between your 2 bases, and then I'll add them together. So first, let me figure out what do all of my variables equal so I can just plug it into the equation. All right, what is the height between my bases? That's going to be 15. What is my perimeter of my base? Okay, I have 23, 12. Remember, my bases are congruent, so that means this segment right here is 18. These 2 segments are congruent, so this is 20. So I'm going to add 18 plus 20 plus 12 plus 23. Which gives me a perimeter of 73 feet. And then finally, I have to find my area of the base. I'm not going to do this work right here. I'm going to do it up here so I have more room. I have to use my area formula for a trapezoid. I cannot use my triangle one here because I don't have a triangle. So my formula for my area with a trapezoid is 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2. So the distance or the length of that base. All right, area of my trapezoid is 1/2 times height. The height of my trapezoid is 12 times my base is 18. My top base is 18. My bottom base is 23. All right, time to simplify. 18 plus 23 is 41. 1/2 times 12 is 6. So 41 times 6. My area of my my base or my trapezoid is going to be 246 feet. That's my area of one base. That's not my surface area, so I need to continue on. So my big B is equal to 246. Now I have that quantity, I can plug into my surface area formula. My height is 15, multiplied by my perimeter, which is 73. I'm going to erase this perimeter work right here so we have some room. Plus 2 times 246. So 15 times 73 is 1095 plus 2 times 246, which gives me 492. So 1095 plus 492. My final answer for my surface area of this trapezoid is going to be 1,587 feet squared. Chicka chicka boom boom. So you can see how these problems, they can get lengthy, as well as you can make, if you make a mistake early on, it's going to affect all your work. So you have to be careful that you're using the correct formula, you're plugging your quantities into the right location, as well as you're using the correct units. Our last type of equations for this section is going to be for your cylinders, not your circular prism. Cylinders have their own equations just because they use those pi quantities as well as finding the area of a circle. So to solve for your lateral area, or that area between your two congruent bases, is going to be 2 times pi times radius times height. Then for your surface area equation, it's going to be 2 times pi r squared. Which you think back, that's similar to your other equations you've had, plus 2 times pi times r times height. So it's lateral area plus the area of your bases multiplied by 2. Let's figure out what my radius and my height are. Well, my radius is going to be 11 yards and my height is going to be 26 yards. So for my surface area, it's going to be 2 pi r squared, which is going to be 11 squared, plus 2 pi r, which is 11, and then h, which is 26. All right, 11 squared, let's simplify her down. 2 pi, 11 squared is going to be 121, plus, okay, 11 times 26, which gives me 2 pi 286. Now at this step, I am going to simplify by just typing in pi and multiplying pi throughout. You do not have to leave pi. So 2 times 121 times pi. Remember how to type in pi? You hit second and then that caret to give me an answer of 760.265. Okay, because these decimals go on and on and on and on and on and on and on, let that answer ride in your calculator. So here, I would, in your calculator, hit plus the addition sign because it will bring your answer from above down. I would add the parenthesis sign and then type in that next quantity. So it'll be 2 second pi, or 2 times second pi times 286. So it will skip giving you this quantity right here and come down to your final answer. The reason we do that is because this decimal goes on and on and on forever, it helps make it a more pristine answer. That's very specific within science. So my final answer is going to be 2,557.25642 ... I like rounding to the hundredths for surface area. So surface area is going to be, of this cylinder, is going to be 2,557.26 yards squared. Okay, one more example. The surface area of the soup can below is 51.94 inches squared. If the diameter of the can is 3 inches, find the height of the can. So here, we're working backwards. It provides us with the surface area. My surface area is 51.94. My diameter is 3 inches. So what's my radius going to be? 1.5, because I take 3 divided by 2. And I'm trying to find height. So now it's a game of plug and chug. So 51.94 is equal to 2 pi r squared. So it's going to be 1.5 squared plus 2 pi times 1.5 times height. I'm going to simplify this down. 2 times, or actually, we got to do our 1.5 squared first. 1.5 squared is 2.25. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 times pi, which gives me 14.137 ... plus 2 pi times 1.5 right. I'm going to subtract my 14 and change, so I can let that ride in my calculator. So 51.94 minus second answer, so that 14.13, to give me 37.8028 equal to 2 pi times 1.5 h. I'm going to simplify this down. 37.8028. So 2 times pi times 1.5 gives me 9.424777 h. And then finally, to detach from that height, I'm going to divide that from my 37. So 37.8028 divided by second answer gives me a height of 4.01 inches squared, question mark? No squared, because it's a height. All right, that is all I have for you today. Continue to update your cheat sheet with these equations. That's going to help you in the long run, so you're not doing a bunch of work in the end. If you have any questions going through these equations, please let me know. I am here to help.